Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, we're about to go into court tomorrow with the CDC. Florida, Texas, and Alaska all suing the federal government and the CDC to get cruises started again, and they're trying to get an injunction to stop the CDC from interfering with the cruise ship sailings tomorrow. And funny enough, a court case just came out where somebody sued the CDC and won. So I don't know if this is going to have any effect on the cruise lawsuit that's going on right now, but I found it pretty interesting because it also broke down the CDC's real power when it comes to trying to stop the spread of the virus throughout the United States or coming into the United States. And so the lawsuit that just happened was, I believe it was Alabama, was suing because when the pandemic first started, the federal government came out and they issued a 120-day basic no eviction. You couldn't be evicted, but that was for any housing or corporation that was receiving federal money of any kind. So federal assistance, federal grants, those kind of things. You could not evict people for 120 days. And then after the 120 days, the CDC extended it. And then they extended it again. It's been extended 3 times, and now it's still going until June. Well, that was until this court decision came out. Now, most people would agree, yeah, you know what, during the pandemic when people were losing their jobs and things like that, you shouldn't be evicted from your home because your business was closed and your job was closed because the government closed you to try and stop the spread of the virus. Most people can agree it might have been a good thing, but the interesting thing here is it kept going and going and going even after businesses were opened and there was no longer the need for this law. The CDC kept extending it and extending it. And it just came back down that no, the CDC did not have the power to enforce that law. And the judge came out and explained the reasoning behind it. And here, let me show you. This is from the actual law journals, and I can't even pronounce promulgation and enforcement by the Surgeon General. So the Surgeon General, with the approval of the Secretary, is authorized to make and enforce such regulations as in his judgments are necessary to prevent the introduction, transmission, or spread of communicable diseases from foreign countries into the states, or possessions, or from one state or possession into any other state or possession. So basically, they have the right to issue anything that comes into, to stop the spread coming into the country, and from a person to person, animal to person, a piece of property to a person, a pie to a person, all those kind of things. But for those purposes of carrying out and enforcing such regulation, the Surgeon General, and it was basically the CDC, may provide for much such as inspection, fumigation, disinfection, sanitization, pest extermination, destruction of animals or articles found to be so infected or contaminated as to be sources of dangerous infections to human beings, and other measures as his judgment may be necessary. So here is what the judge basically said: stopping people from being evicted for not paying rent and having to move to a different house is not really stopping the spread of COVID-19. It's not stopping the spread because people are still allowed to sell their houses and move their houses. Here in Canada, it's a booming market. Houses are not staying on the market right now. Every house is selling at over asking price. It's just gone crazy. The amount of people who are trying to get houses nowadays, it's gone up 30-some% in a year, the cost of housing in Canada. It's nuts. So the judge said, how is telling people that you can't be evicted stopping the spread? How is that inspection? It's not. How is that fumigation? It's not. How is that disinfection? It's not. How is that sanitation or pest extermination or destruction of articles or animals? It's not. So the CDC, you do not have that power to issue that restriction on the country. So now let's extrapolate that and move it to the cruise line industries, where they are telling the cruise line industries that they have to vaccinate their crew members. They cannot do shore excursions. They cannot do business. They have to do test cruises. Well, do test cruises, provides inspection? Test cruises do, somewhat. But is that inspection? It's supposed to be inspection on coming into the country, not inspection to go out of the country and to do business. Fumigation. We'll inspect you for fumigation. They are fumigating the cruise ships. Disinfection. Cruise ships are disinfected, and even more so now that the pandemic started. Sanitation. Some of the cleanest places on earth are on cruise ships. You know what I mean? Like, some of the things that they're allowed to do, have they overextended their power by saying that they have all-encompassing power to stop the virus? But do they? Because according to the actual law itself, and the reading of the judge in this case in particular, you're supposed to you may provide guidelines for inspection, fumigation, disinfection, sanitation. Well, they just said, if they say, well, you have to go through inspection, it's inspection, that's why we got the framework. We're inspecting your test cruises and everything. But you just said we don't have to do test cruises if we vaccinate this many people on our ships. So you're contradicting yourself. You're not inspecting anymore. You're regulating now. And that's a different animal altogether. And apparently this judge thought so. And they even said, can you set this decision aside because, while we possibly appeal it and that? And the judge said, no. Because all parties agreed that there was no argument about the case. They all agreed the CDC did this, the plaintiff and the defense all agreed this happened. It was just a matter of law. Did the judge say that this was a legal thing for them to do? And when he read the actual guide that the Surgeon General and the Secretary and the CDC have the power of, he said, no. You're supposed to be like an inspection body and a protection body. You're not supposed to be a regulatory body. And that's where the cruise lines also might have a point when they go back to court on Tuesday, May the 12th. I don't know if they're going to take that route. I don't know if they've even paid attention to this lawsuit, but one lawsuit against the CDC has won. Once it was heard, there's the key. It takes sometimes a long time for things to be heard. We'll see what happens when the cruise lines go to court. It's going to be an exciting week for that, but I thought this was pretty interesting when I actually read what they're supposedly to do and then some of the regulations that they've issued. Like, they have the right to tell companies, in order to operate in the United States, you have to do this. So if airlines wanted to fly from Europe to the United States, they said you have to have masks. That's a safety precaution. You can issue that. But they didn't have the right to say to the airlines, you can't fly. You can't do business. You have to do test flights in order to stay in business. You have to follow this 32-point plan that we have in place in order for you to do business. And your passengers, when they arrive in the other country, have to follow our guidelines before they come back. You see how they could be overstretching their power. Well, they are overstretching their power when it comes to cruise lines. They are going above and beyond what the meaning of the law and the intention of the law was. The law was to keep people in the United States safe from infection and spread, not to regulate what things can do outside of the country, with no basis of facts and no basis of science other than we feel this. And so, well, this could be very interesting. I'm curious to see what happens on Tuesday. I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Until next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.